Hey guys, it's Jason. Before we start this video, I just wanted to mention real quick the overall quality of the visuals are really kind of off for some reason. I'm not sure why. This was during my trip down to Dallas, where I met with Stewart, obviously, who this video is about, and toured Universal Rocks, and then went and saw Chase Baker and so on and so forth. And if you remember from Chase Baker's video, the autofocus was really screwed up, and I had some weird issue with the camera, and I had to call Canon and get some things reset and reconfigured and figured out in that. And obviously, you know, it's working now, but for whatever reason, it's hard to tell on the little screen that it's not working quite right. In this video, it's very it's not real fuzzy. I don't know. It doesn't look the way I like the videos to look normally. So just be mindful of that. The lighting is very tough in that room because I don't carry, when I vlog on the road or whatever, I don't carry a whole backpack full of auxiliary lights and, you know, stuff like that. I try to just do it naturally in what I'm seeing. So I hope you don't mind, but like I said, I'm disappointed because it's not to the level that I'm used to putting up. But still, the content I think is really exciting, and it's interesting to hear Stewart's story and where he came from to building Universal Rocks. So I hope you enjoyed that much of it. I just wanted to drop in real quick and let you know, unfortunately, the quality is not as good as I prefer. So enjoy. What's up guys, Jason here, Morph Mixology. Welcome back to the channel. Obviously not in the snake room. You've probably by now seen at least one video from Universal Rocks. So I got a moment to sit down with Stewart, the owner. And Stewart, first of all, thanks for having me. And I am blown away by what is in this building. Like I said in the other video, guys, if you're down in the area, it's fairly open invitation to come by.
Absolutely.
And yep. It's an amazing place, and you can't really get a sense for the scale and the detail and the complexity without being here and seeing it in person.
Absolutely.
So it's been an awesome experience to see that. But I wanted to sit down with Stewart and just kind of get a little bit of background, like how did we get here? You know, how do you get to building 8-foot tall realistic trees and putting them in, you know, Brian Barczyk's Reptarium and that? Like what's your story?
Well, the material makes so many things possible. Okay, so before I was doing this, I was a landscaper, and I used to have to do stuff out of real rock and cement and mortar it, and then I learned how to spray, wire it up, spray it, carve it, which maybe you guys are doing with some foam and carving foam and putting some finishing or touches on that. So I learned how to do that, and I really just sort of went after the market of all the things I used to do when I would sell real rocks to people.
The hard way.
The hard way, yeah. The hard way. So every time I pick up a real rock now, I go, that's why I got into this stuff.
So what is the material?
The materials, it's formulated just for us, but it's very similar to a truck bed liner, like a rhino liner.
Okay, so just more of like a malleable rubber spray.
Yep, which is incredibly tough. I mean, I've seen it on Mythbusters where they've set up a cinder block wall, and they spray it with our similar material to us, and they fire rockets at it.
Wow.
And they break the wall, but it all stays together.
Wow.
Because of the polyurea. So it's an amazing material.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because we walked around here, and you know, even trying to set up this shot in particular, I walked over and I picked up a 3-foot long stump, tree stump, and drug it over here, and it weighs what, 6 or 8 pounds maybe. I mean,
and that actually glows of a night time when you put a light on it, which we supply.
Yeah,
you got these glowing lunar light logs in your yard.
So obviously, as I walked around, I noticed it's not just backgrounds for reptile tanks and stuff like that. I mean, you could design an entire yardscape if you really wanted to.
And that was the original main molds that I made.
Okay.
Being a landscaper, I was doing people's houses in particular, and that meant I was doing flagstone like we have here, or doing retaining walls or garden ponds and whatnot. So that's really what most of my molds originally were about. Okay. But you know, growing up in Sydney, I was always catching lizards and snakes and turtles and frogs and things. So that's why there's a whole line to do with what you love.
Yeah.
Which is the reptiles and the aquarium.
Well, and you've got a few
critters in Australia to reference. Yeah.
Most Americans are pretty jealous of that.
Yeah. Well, you also have all the really scary ones too. So. Yes. No, it's really interesting. I mean, yeah, I didn't even show in the video, but we're looking at about probably a 5 foot, probably a 20 square foot section of what looks like slate here, and it's all fake.
All fake, yeah.
And you would never know otherwise.
Well, this piece, and you guys can't see that, but it's 6 foot long, nearly 3.5 feet wide, and it was 2 inches thick. And when we were taking it off the truck, it started to break. There was 5 of us carrying it. It was 500 pounds.
The real piece.
The real piece.
Okay.
So we quickly put it down and we molded it where it was.
Because that piece probably weighed.
It was 506 pounds.
Jeez. And this one here weighs
30 pounds.
30. Yeah. It's really incredible, and it's obviously all waterproof and
very durable.
And so what? If you were going to make, so it's kind of hard to see, but this structure behind this big waterfall section is probably 10 or 12 foot tall and something like that. But when you spray the material, when you use the material, what color is it? Because obviously it's not a tree or a tiger or whatever.
So the raw materials will be dyed to the color, whether we want a brownish tone or a grayish tone or what have you. So that'll be dyed.
Okay.
But then we don't use any paint, so it's crushed rock and sand, and the process is pretty cool what we're doing. But as we're spraying it, we've also got the colors getting in it and on it.
Okay.
And that's what gives it the extra longevity and the realism. It feels it's gritty.
So yeah, there's material in it that gives it that rock and sand feel.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I know some of our viewers, at least in the other video, walking around the facility, are going to ask me, how much is a 10-foot long Komodo dragon?
You can have him for $1,000.
Because you could make more of those, I imagine, right?
No, the animals that you see here, they're made from a good friend of mine in Australia.
Okay.
Nature Works in Australia.
Okay.
So he's got molds for, I've got molds for about 800 items.
Yep.
He's got molds for 2,000 animals.
I did find a crocodile back in one of your rooms back there.
Crocodile,
yep. So there's mold for that.
Velociraptors and great white sharks and lots of cool stuff.
Well, I think it would be really exciting to build a backyard. I showed everybody the hot tub stuff you guys are doing now, which is really interesting.
Yes.
And pools and whatnot. So I think it'd be cool to build a backyard with fake trees and dinosaurs. Like, what kid would not want to grow up with dinosaurs in their yard?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, there's no. Your imagination's your limit. That's it. Because we've got enough molds to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that was the most eye-opening here is you've got some very creative people on your team that you come up with something just kind of off the wall and it's like, let's try it. We can make a mold of it, we can make it, and it's, or somebody brings you they want this really cool stump that their grandmother had in their front yard in a 150-year-old tree, and you can make a mold of that and just make them one that'll last forever. And that part of that's really fascinating.
Just remember though, making the mold is a little expensive.
Of course.
So you typically want to choose things that you're going to on-sell.
Okay.
So that's why. Otherwise, we'd need a factory twice as big.
Of course.
And by the way, the factory's like 50,000 square feet of stuff, which is pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't realize it was that big. I can imagine it though. Yeah. So just for like a sense of idea, this, like I said, we got this 3-foot stump this thing is sitting on. I'll have some B-roll I'll put up of it, or some of these, 2 or 3 foot diameter rocks. So what does something like that cost?
A big boulder that originally I paid 1,500. Oh, sorry, it was 1,500 pounds. And I paid 14 cents a pound.
Okay.
So I think that cost me, what's that, 150 something?
$150 probably?
Yeah, it cost me 150, but they want to charge you another 100 and something to deliver it.
Of course.
So this way you can, and that's only dropping it off at the front yard, that's not putting it in place in the backyard.
Yeah.
So that's where we sort of have the advantage. One, I've spent lots of time molding really cool rocks, really cool trees, really cool bits and pieces of whatever that may be. Whereas when you go to the rock yard, you don't always see the best things. The landscaper before took it, the next shipment hasn't come in, and whatnot. So I've spent the time getting that, but now you can pick it up. You don't have to worry about the heavy lifting. If you want to move it, and if you've got fences, you can lift it over the fence or through the fence, through the gate.
And anybody can pick it up. You can put it in the back of your car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it becomes fun landscaping instead of hard, true landscaping, which is a lot of people don't want to do.
Well, and you were saying too, we were talking about the hot tubs and that, and the pools, and because you have the mold to make hot tubs,
yes,
the idea is generally less expensive than if you went to a pool company and had them build you a pool from scratch.
Absolutely.
You just got to dig the hole and drop the hot tub in it.
Absolutely. Well, you still got to get electricity or gas and all of those things there, but it's just there's no one in the industry really making lightweight, portable, realistic hot tubs. There's all the ones that are stand above on the ground.
Yeah.
And they don't blend in with the landscape. I'm all about making it blend into the landscape. So these are great for that, and they just happen to be a lot easier to install and a lot less work in building. So our costs are down compared to the pool builder building you one.
Yeah, and if nothing else, shipping costs are less because they don't weigh as much and stuff of that nature.
Yep.
So you introduced me to your son, and actually I've met two of your sons now.
Ben, Jake.
And this is a family-run company, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And tell me a little bit about your story and how you got here and you got the family and that behind you.
So business was, so I finished school at 16, okay? Went to college 1 day a week, the way we do it in Australia. If you're going to become a plumber, a landscaper, an electrician, a carpenter, or what have you, you would typically finish back then at 16, year 10, you'd finish, then go to college 1 day a week for 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
But while you're doing that, you would be working on site with the job. So you're doing an apprenticeship that way.
And that's for the trades?
For the trades.
Okay.
Yes. And I think that's now moved on, postponed it, much like America. So you're at school longer and longer and longer, which I don't believe in. But anyway, unless you're going to the university for certain things.
Of course.
So anyway, so I finished school. I went to work at the local city council as a landscape gardener. Pretty boring, pretty slow.
Yep.
And from there I talked my boss into about 3.5 years later to leaving, and we started our own landscaping business.
Okay.
And that was what, 33 years ago now. So in that case, I've lost track of where I'm going. The story's pretty cool. I got inspired because I came out, I was 20 years old, and I'm sitting in a pub with a friend of mine. I said, "Hey Pete, I want to go to America. How about we go to America?" And he says, "Yeah, let's do that." And in our trip, 2 months later, we went for 6 weeks around. We went to Disneyland and went to Disney World.
Okay.
Well, all the theming in Disneyland and Disney World is as cool as can be.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what I want to do. I want to learn how to do that. And so I learned how to do that, and we started doing cement rocks. And then when I was 30, I learned how to do a similar system to what we're doing today.
Okay.
And business was booming. We were each year doubling in our sales, and after about 6 years we're doing $5 million worth of sales, and
wow,
we've got 35 employees. But the drought in Australia got really, really tough, where you couldn't fill up a pond, you couldn't fill up a swimming pool, you couldn't water your plants.
Oh.
So here I am with all these employees, a huge facility, and people couldn't buy our product, or wouldn't buy our product till the rains came, and that would lasted 10 years.
Wow.
So instead of the business growing, it started to level out at around $5 million. So my wife and I went and we'd already sold to Costco in England, we'd sold to some companies in Japan and France and America. So we thought, let's go and sell overseas. And anyway, in the end we decided we'll come here for 2 or 3 years, we'll bring our 4 kids, we'll just have a go, we'll keep our business operating in Australia, and we'll ship back orders. Well, things changed. We now manufacture everything here.
Okay.
And we ship back to Australia and many other places. And so we just thought it'd be a cool thing to do for 2 years. And here we are 11 years later.
So how long you've been here 11 years doing this full time?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So what's one of the biggest jobs you've done? Obviously the Reptarian was a big deal. That was quite a bit.
Yeah, that was good. Last month we sent 4 big trees to MGM up in northeast of the country for the casino.
Okay.
And they were like 35 feet wide and 26 feet tall, and that was pretty cool. There was 2 big trees like that, 2 trees that had water running down them. They were sort of whimsical, sort of theatrical sort of trees with 4 foot, 5 foot flowers coming off them. Did Sea Life Aquarium, done a lot of work for Sea Life Aquarium in Grapevine here, and some zoos back in Australia, some hotels. I tended to just do things for mum and dad.
Yeah.
Their backyard, their house, their reptiles, their enclosures. But because we have molds for all of those, we could really do any casino, any zoo, anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's really, I mean, we could sit here and talk for hours, I'm sure, and I know you got to get back to work, and but I really appreciate you having me out.
Yep.
And explaining this all to it, and I'll have to definitely come back, and we're talking about some other options of things that we can do for our collection, for enclosures that we've got plans for in many years down the road. If we ever get into a facility, we'll probably have to build something really cool that have some people come, make a nice like cave to live in, so to speak. So
Yes.
Stay tuned to the channel, of course. I'll put all of Stewart's information in Universal Rocks down below so you can follow along with them and see the insane stuff that they make. And I'm sure we'll be doing some business together. We'll come up with something cool to make.
Yep, we will do.
Thanks a lot, Stewart.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you guys.
Yeah.